morning, everyone. And I do hope everyone had a good night last night. The number one call I get constantly is this. It's from a CEO or it's from a division head of an electrification unit. And the call is always the same. Hey, Ken, we're wondering if you could tell us a little bit about this battery chemistry. And the question is always prompted by usually either a board member or a CEO who was perusing the internet and saw Tesla killer battery appears, about to put Tesla out of business. Or, researchers shocked that this battery will destroy every other battery chemistry out there. And so being quite clickbaity, and they read the article, they are very nervous that the strategy that they have undertaken has just been destroyed by some battery chemistry they never heard of. And so they want to ask us what the heck is going on here. 99 times out of 100, that battery is still sitting in a lab someplace. It hasn't even done a half coin cell, and it probably won't work at the end of the day anyways. However, there is an awful lot that goes out there, and a lot of these chemistries will hit the market at some day. And so let's start to talk about what is real and what is fake, which is the name of this panel. And I think we have three great panelists here to talk us through, because they all have different views and different parts of the value chain in terms of actually making a battery go public and actually become commercial. While we start, I know that we did have initial, but if each of the three panelists talk a little bit about themselves and what they do, so that everyone gets a quick understanding of how we come at this industry. Emilie, you want to start?
Thank you, Ken. My name is Emilie Bodoin, and I'm the founder and CEO of a Boston-based company called Pure Lithium. My partner is Professor Donald Sadoway, formerly of MIT. He's with us full-time now. We're about a 50-person strong team, and we use electrodeposition to go from a dilute source of lithium, aqueous sources of brine, directly to a battery-ready lithium metal electrode. We also make our own batteries. We're working to commercialize a lithium metal vanadium system in our laboratory.
Emilie, you hear on the internet some great battery chemistry is going to destroy all other chemistries. From your perspective, how do you look at new battery technologies, and how do you what are the questions you have early on to see, is this something that's real, or is this sort of clickbait on the internet?
That's a great question, and I know you get much more incoming on this than I do, but all my investors, anyone I know in the banking industry, I probably get 5 or 6 of these, these articles. First, I look to see if it's in a university, or if it's a company, and then I look for background on the founders, who they are, what they've done before, and then I start to dig into the chemistry. And generally, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. We look at something like lithium sulfur. It's the dream of lithium metal battery researchers to find, but there's some very acute problems with the technology that we know. And if somebody solves them, it would be amazing, but we know what those problems are, so we read the papers and the brochures and we see, okay, is this problem actually solved, or is this just kind of sounding like it's solved? And we try to kind of attack it from that lens. What's really interesting to me is the amount of completely wild claims that we see. And even more so perplexing is the absence of a lot of information. So if there's nothing about the cell chemistry, my email's very short. I have absolutely no information. I can't comment because I don't know what the chemistry is. And that's generally how we approach it. And sometimes we get an article from an investor that knows nothing, and it's really, really, really interesting.
We always think about EV batteries, but stationary storage is something that's also quite interesting and opens up a lot of opportunities because space is not such an important factor. What do you think about battery technologies for large scale, huge amounts of energy storage? Which of those battery technologies do you like?
Well, of course, I'm biased, right? So Ambri, the liquid metal battery that Professor Don Sadoway invented, is exceptional. It's very cheap, it doesn't burn, And it can only be a large battery. It heats itself. It's a really interesting technology, and it's a brand new technology. He won an award last year from WIPO for the best inventor outside of Europe for this battery. Bill Gates and Total funded it originally, and it's being deployed in Microsoft's data centers. And it's a workhorse. You cannot use it for anything else but stationary storage. It's been a long haul for Ambry. The commercialization part has been the hardest part. At one time, they were a seal company, literally, because you have to have a high temperature seal that can't leak on the battery, and that was their biggest challenge for quite some time. The founder was a student of Don's. My CTO was an inventor on all the early patents, and I think that that's a really great technology. I'm not familiar with this storage market as much as I am with a rechargeable mobile device market, but definitely. And just to your point about the stages of companies and the hardest part, that's exactly where we are. We make our batteries by hand, and we don't make coin cells. We never did. They're all pouch cells. We make them by hand, and scaling that to automation, especially with lithium metal, as you know. You can't just dial up existing manufacturing equipment. That's exactly what Ambry had to do. They had to design all of their own manufacturing equipment. So when people look at these companies and they say, well, it's been 12 years, this is BS, this is hype. It's not. It's science, it takes a long time, and it's really hard to raise money for it when you're at this stage. So that's when it would be nice if the DOE would come in and figure out a way to help expedite that process, because it's the most challenging, and the people that do the startups are not the scale-up experts.
There's a question here, we'll go with this, Emilie. Say in the next decade, which 3 chemistries do you think will be in our future? I won't go with the one, because I just don't think I think the battery industry will always be many batteries for many purposes, for many applications, because of the need for power or cycles or density or whatnot. Are there 3 chemistries that you can mention that people should at least be on the lookout for?
Definitely. I think lithium metal, hopefully, will supplant lithium ion. On the cathode side, people should be on the lookout for unlithiated cathodes to really utilize all the capacity of the lithium metal electrode. Also, conversion cathodes, not sulfur necessarily. I think the challenges are very difficult. If it happens, it would be amazing, but I don't expect it to. But we do expect lithium metal at solid state. And of course, Blue Solution has really led the charge with this entire cycle with lithium metal. And then I think in storage, we're gonna see a lot of innovation, because when you loosen the design parameters of the electric vehicle, it's easier to get to market. You have a broader palette of materials to work with. So I think we're gonna see some really interesting innovations in the storage space. Even some aluminum storage systems could come online.
And for the last question, probably, Emilie, if you had 30 seconds, can you talk about the lithium intensity?
The lithium intensity insofar as how much you use in a cell really varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. We have patents for a 0 excess lithium battery. I know companies that use 100% excess lithium in their cell, so it completely depends. Theoretically, we would use almost the same amount of lithium, but in the form of metal is in a lithium-ion battery today.
So it's not only consultants who say it depends when you ask a question directly, so I'm happy that you also use that phrase.
Okay, sorry.
I'd like to thank the panel very much for coming today. I'm sure they'll be around to take further questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you.